The NFL season's 98 days away. And I mean, I thought what better way to celebrate than to think about the 98-yard touchdown that Sam Hubbard scored in the AFC wildcard game against the Ravens. And the sad thing about it is Lamar missed it because he was in the bathroom.
What was he doing?
I don't know.
Luke, what was
Probably
he
using
doing?
the restroom?
I don't know. I don't know if you want to speculate that one.
Luke, you're the Ravens insider. How'd that feel to watch a 98-yard touchdown? And now we're remembering that because we are 98 days away. All About the Balls podcast with Mark Davis, Chris Gemeinhart, Luke Rule, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. Hello and welcome to this episode where the Denver Nuggets just kicked the shit out of the Miami Heat episode of All About the Balls podcast. I'm your host, Mark Davis. Not feeling so great tonight because, like I said, Miami took a fat L. But I am in the sack house, excited as always with a smile on my face because I have three of the greatest co-hosts a man could ask for with Chris Gemeinhart, Luke Rule, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz. Glad to have you boys in the sack house tonight. Chris, I know you watched the game. I know you're probably feeling better than I am. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm tired. I cleaned all day. My in-laws are coming in tomorrow. Excited for having two extra hands in this house to help with these two crazy babies. So I'm feeling pretty good.
And I'm glad you weren't napping right before the show started. Glad you were prepared, ready on time. And Luke, good to see your smiling face here for your third episode. Hope you're having a good time on the show. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I watched the fourth quarter of the game just so I could talk some shit here. I watched Jimmy eats butts. fucking played terrible. So it was
better than Martin.
Heat. I'm one game closer to my prediction of 4-game series.
Hey, that might be a good take by you, Luke, by a guy who doesn't watch any basketball at all. And everyone, hopefully Doc can stay awake for this episode. He just woke up from a nice power nap. Doc, how are you doing after your nap, by the way?
Oh, refreshed. Really needed it. Just wasn't seeing the action, wasn't seeing the comeback and a blowout. So, caught that nap while I could.
Yeah, and with that blowout being said, Doc, like you said, the Miami Heat just lost 104-93, game one of the NBA Finals. It definitely did not feel like an 11-point game. It felt more like a 21-point game. It just seemed so effortlessly by the Denver Nuggets. Joker didn't really have to do much most of the game. He was just passing the ball. Then he decided, fuck it, I might as well get a triple-double while I'm at it. Doc, is this the formula the Denver Nuggets are going to use for the remainder of the series? Just let the ball go through Joker while he's on the court and just kick it out? Because unlike LeBron and the Lakers, those shooters will hit.
No, I don't think the focus is on, get it through Joker to kick it out. I think the focus has just been on playing naturally, let the game develop and take the shot where you've got it. I mean, they just moved the ball around well. They took open shots. They took high percentage and good shots versus just trying to loft shit up at the rim. We saw Duncan Robinson trying to heave up a three and completely fucking airball. So I think it was just taking high quality, smart shots and just, like I said, let the game develop, let the game go where it goes. Take the best shot that you've got on the court. It just so happened that, guys were moving around and Jokic was able to make plays off the pass. But they did a wonderful job tonight.
Yeah, Chris, Doc, I think nailed it spot on. Like they hit their open shots. Miami couldn't hit theirs. Max Strus and Caleb Martin, they just couldn't seem to buy a bucket. And like I told you before the show, if they just hit 30% of their shots, we're literally in the game. Not saying we're going to win, but at least we have a shot. We're there in hands reach. But is Doc right?
11-point game that could absolutely have made the difference on 11 points.
Yeah, I think they're 1 for 17 combined. So, Chris, like I said, do you think that's something that needs to be done? Maybe if Miami hits that shots, game two, maybe they can actually find themselves in the game. Not necessarily going to win it, but at least have a chance to win.
Yeah, Miami just still kind of looked hungover from that Game 7 with the Celtics. Denver coming out looking solid with their rest that they had with a couple days. Denver's offense just proves again that they're elite, that a team can come back in biting distance and then they just blow the lead open again. If Miami hits those threes, hits those shots, I still think Denver pulls it off. I'll agree with you, Mark. I think Miami might pull one game out of this series, but if Denver and Joker keep playing the way they play, it's a wrap for Miami.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Spoelstra's capable enough to get a game plan going to kind of adjust for this. Like I said, they didn't play terrible. They leave them open for a while, but only letting Denver score 104. That's not a bad scoring game or a bad scoring defense for that kind of efficiency that the Denver Nuggets used to produce. And I mean, Joker was stuck on 5 shots for a long time. I mean, like they said on the commentary crew, he loves to just kick the ball out. He's not always looking to shoot the ball and score. I mean, it didn't have to work that way tonight, even though he did get a triple-double. But like I said, I think if Miami can do something, actually hit shots, like Luke said, if Jimmy Butler can just be a little bit of Jimmy playoffs, Jimmy buckets, Miami can find themselves in the series and actually show that. And with that being said, Luke, I mean, you said sweep, so you think Denver just takes it off in game 2 and they just wipe the doors with Miami again?
Yeah, they're just going to run away home. Just run home with this game. So, nothing crazy.
Yeah, good take. Good take there, Chris.
Solid.
Yeah, my prediction's still going strong.
Yeah, if you're a bettor's man, you might win this bet. But Chris, what's your prediction and what's your your preview for game 2?
I think Denver is going to secure another win out there. I mean, and just kind of hit back on what you were talking about, Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy definitely had an off game tonight, but there were times in consecutive plays that they didn't give the ball to Jimmy, and that's just, you got to feed your superstar. Even though he's having an off game, you got to keep giving him the ball.
I feel like you're right. Like, I mean, I don't feel like it's necessarily Spoelstra's not telling him not to get the ball. I feel like a lot of times Butler he'll drive to the paint and he'll just kick out. Like, he doesn't want to always attack and be aggressive and actually put a floater up. I mean, I understand, like, you know, he had that fear maybe with Robert Williams from the previous series, but I mean, Joker and them aren't typically known as shot blockers. The Denver Nuggets defense isn't necessarily the best. They are bigger and stronger than Miami, but you still have to attack. I mean, Bam woke up. That's the only good sign I saw from the Miami Heat tonight was Bam actually played good, because I don't think Joker can actually contain Bam. I think he's just too athletic for Joker. But that's also being said and done. Joker is going to get his points as well. So Bam needs to be maybe not hitting 13 shots, but maybe hit more like 18, 19 shots. Doc, I mean, you have anything to say about that? You think that maybe Bam actually shown something tonight? Maybe Miami hits their shots. Maybe game 2 they can steal it?
No, I don't think so. I think Bam came out. Somebody on this team had to step up. It happened to be Bam tonight, but that's been the issue, in the few games that I've watched in the last, in this series in the last is just the consistency isn't there. It's been a different guy every night. Strus going 0 for 10 tonight doesn't help. Personally, I don't think Butler had a bad game. He shot 43% from the field. I don't think that's a terrible number. 7 boards, 7 assists. I mean, I think he played an all-around good game. I think the defense was lacking. I think Miami struggled with not getting to the free throw line. 18 more free throw attempts, 14 more made by Denver. I mean, that's the difference maker in an 11-point game. So I think that altogether, the team needs to come up. Vincent had a good game. Caleb Martin was non-existent. Again, Strus 0 for 10 shooting. 0 for 9 from 3 is absolutely unacceptable.
And a lot of those
for
were
a shooter.
open shots, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the consistency has not been there. Guys that stepped up big time, game 6 and 7 in that Eastern Conference final. Jimmy Butler finding that way to drive to the lane, find his way to the free throw line in that fourth quarter in game 6 or in game 7 when they pulled it away. Game 6, even when when they kept it close and almost took game 6 from them. But overall, I mean, they're not. It's not a team in Miami right now, at least not in game 1. So regardless, at the end of the day, I mean, I'd like to see Miami play better and come back, but I think the Nuggets still pull out with game 2 easily.
And I hate to say it now, but I feel like game 2 is more of a must-win. I feel like if they go down 2-0, obviously game 3 is really a must-win. But I feel like getting out of Denver is a huge must-win. Like getting back to South Beach tied 1-1. And speaking of that, also must-win and the altitude. Do you think? I mean, the altitude is what I want to bring up. But between the three of you, I know they say Denver, even though it's inside. Do you think the altitude honestly is a huge factor? I know a lot of the older time players say it. Besides Charles Barkley says that's kind of a myth in his mind, but. Do you think with Denver having that advantage, knowing the mile-high altitude, that's actually an issue?
I mean, I'll go first with this one. I think the altitude, I'll agree. It'll affect normal people, but these guys are professional athletes. They work out every single day. They're in top form. I mean, their stamina's up there. Their endurance is up there. The altitude isn't really going to affect them. I mean, you can compare this to NFL teams traveling to Denver and playing. I think it's an excuse.
Yeah, I think if this was the case, I mean, I think across all the major sports that play in Denver, I think you'd see something. I mean, the only time that we really see it affected is in baseball with the balls flying further, but you see it on both sides of the field. It's not like Denver's the only one hitting home runs. But other than that, I mean, as far as the altitude causing an issue, I mean, Miami didn't look tired out there. They didn't look tired. They just they made poor decisions and took bad shots. I mean, that's what it comes down. I mean, actually, it took good shots. They just didn't hit them, and I don't think it was an altitude thing.
The altitude was affecting the basketball.
It was making the rim smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Luke, you
They got to put that low altitude air in the ball.
The premium air.
Yeah.
Luke, you got anything to say about altitude with the basketball game?
No, just Miami Heat just didn't make enough shots, so they lost the game.
And just
Fucking John Madden himself over here, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
love it. And let's wrap that up. But just real quick, I know we hammered John Morant pretty big the last few episodes ago. Adam Silver has pretty much said they have their punishment. They found actual more evidence about other stuff, so they don't want to take away from the finals. So they're going to announce his suspension and what's going to happen. So it sounds like they're going to make an example of John Morant for, I guess, what they found in that situation. And Chris, I know you wanted to touch on this. The NBA hype video that ESPN put on their TikTok. I know you were a huge, huge fan. You were hyping up the content creator for that. Give us your thoughts, buddy.
Yeah, no, that was fucking ridiculous. I mean, it looked like a kid built it. I don't know what intern got the password to ESPN's Twitter account, but they should probably find that intern and kick him down to probably hit us up. We're open. We need some animations.
Yeah, Doc, you were ripping it pretty hard. I know you weren't I understand, like, you gotta try and be creative, but that wasn't it, right, Doc?
Look, no, I thought it was great. I thought that they let him make a wish, see a dream come true and make an animation for the NBA, Twitter account. So, I mean, that's dope. I think that's great. Giving back to the community and getting involved. So, props to the third grader that made it,
There was a frame in it with Joker holding an L, and I literally thought he was holding a gun.
No, that was Joker. No, that was Joker in the video, not John Morant.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty embarrassing. Like you said, Chris, I didn't know what he was holding at first, and then I saw the L drop on the floor, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I see what's going on. I mean, they brought Jimmy's dreads back, but I mean, his dreads haven't been there since the beginning of the year, so I just don't understand what they were thinking, honestly. Like, I don't understand what ESPN.
I was happy to see LeBron get fucking shit on in that video.
He did get shit. Yeah, I mean, Doc, don't lie. You were a little sad. You're upset that LeBron got shitted on. And speaking of being shit on, before we talk NFL, Chris, I know you had something to say right before we wanted to talk about the NFL fantasy rankings. So the floor is yours, man. You take what you have to do and take the time you need to vent to us, people.
Yeah, no, boys, we are in double digits now. The NFL season's 98 days away. And I mean, I thought, what better way to celebrate than to think about the 98-yard touchdown that Sam Hubbard scored in the AFC wildcard game against the Ravens. And the sad thing about it is Lamar missed it because he was in the bathroom.
What was he doing?
I don't know.
Luke, what was he doing?
I
don't know if you want to speculate that one.
Luke, you are the Ravens insider. How'd that feel to watch a 98-yard touchdown? And now we're remembering that because we are 98 days away.
Yeah, I was also like 35,000 feet in the air watching that game, so it was rough on the flight. So I was very pissed off at like the rest of the 2 hours of my flight after that game. But you know what? It took a defensive play for the Bengals to beat the Ravens with a backup quarterback playing. So,
but you know what they say, Luke? A win's a win, my friend.
Yeah. Then they went ahead and lost anyways, so it's fine.
Doc, I know you're excited for football, though, right?
Oh! Joe Burrow. They're smoking that Joe Burrow in Kansas City.
Joe Burr.
Mahomes' dad was smoking that Joe Burrow.
I'm just shocked the plane didn't have to make an emergency landing.
It was very close. I was five minutes into my flight, so
he was 5 minutes from ending up on a no-fly list.
Yeah.
Oh man,
they're lucky I was already in the air, or I would have stayed.
Well, like Chris did to hype up the season, we are definitely excited. We're hoping that these next 3+ months go a little faster, and that makes the fall go a little slower during the football season. So with that being said, let's give the people what they want. Let's give them some new rankings. I hope that, Doc, you're feeling more confident with your addition of this top 10 wide receiver rankings for fantasy football for the 2023 redraft time frame. So We started with
I
you.
thought
Doc.
this time we could go 1 to 10, and I wanted to start out with number 1 here. I got to give it to my guy Chase Claypool in Chicago. Hands down, top hands in the game. Just an absolute vertical red zone threat. Speed guy, route runner, just breaking ankles out there. Easily number 1 on the board. If you don't take Chase Claypool first round, you might as well just pack your shit up and leave the league.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where you actually have him because I think he's in my top 3. But before we start with Luke, I do have a hot take, and I will say it right now. I do not have Cooper Kupp in my top 10 at all. I know he's coming back. He was on a hot streak last year before he got injured, but I don't have Cooper Kupp on my top 10. Luke, we started with Doc and Chris the last 2 episodes. We're going to start with you. Who is your 10th wide receiver?
All right, so my hot take for the wide receivers is I don't have Jamar Chase in my top 10 either.
Shocker. Fucking shocker, dude.
No Jamar Chase.
Thought we got Zay Flowers in there, though.
No, Zay
Dude, y'all
Flowers.
out there. Y'all out there smoking weed with Sean Payton.
No, you got a fucking OBJ and his 3/4 of an ACL on his fucking top 10.
When I get to my 10th spot, I'll explain why I don't have Cooper Kupp. But, Luke, I want to hear that. Why you don't have Jamar Chase in your top 10?
Jamar Chase didn't even finish top 10 last season. He's got weak hips. He runs one route. That's about it. He's still trying to figure out the size of NFL football. So I have him. He was close. I had him slashed with my my 10th pick. So number 10, I want Devonta Smith out of Philadelphia. Pretty good wide receiver, but he's kind of overshadowed by A.J. Brown. But I like Devonta Smith. Big season from last year. I think he continues on.
He was number 9 last year in ESPN's final point scored for wide receivers. So, definitely
above Jamar Chase.
There are injuries that were the reason why. When you miss 4 or 5 games, you're tendency going to have a little less points in the top 10.
He had weak hips. I think he missed 6 games last year or something like that.
I think 4 off a freak accident.
Chris, I want to hear your take because you are an LSU boy and you love Jamar Chase. Before you get into your 10th receiver, what do you have to say about that Jamar Chase hot take?
Hey, y'all need to drug test this boy. Jamar Chase is easily going to be top 5 again. So.
All right, so who's your 10th receiver? I thought you were going to rip into him.
Has he ever been top 5?
He might have been his rookie year because his rookie year he balled out his rookie year.
No, at the 10 spot, I have Garrett Wilson. This guy, I have him as my 2023 breakout player. He earned 25% of target shares last year, led the NFL wide receivers and missed forced tackles. He was wide receiver 19 last year, but look who was throwing him the ball. The quarterback room is a train wreck. A-Rod is here to support him, and A-Rod is proven to support a top 5 fantasy wide receiver. So I got Garrett Wilson sliding in my 10 spot.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Chris. I think that's going to be an interesting player this year for the New York Jets. Doc, who do you have at number 10?
Number 10, I'm right there with Chris. I got Garrett Wilson. I think the upgraded quarterback is going to go a long way. I thought he was destined for great things last year. Obviously, the struggles at the quarterback position really hindered him and slowed him down. But I think, like Chris said, a breakout year is coming for him.
Yeah, I think with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, like you boys said, he's definitely due for a big year. And Luke, ESPN, I can't find theirs real quick, but Fantasy Pros for Jamar Chase in 2021, he was number 3 for fantasy wide receivers, which was his rookie season.
So he's on the decline.
When you have an injury, like I said, that typically happens. But the reason why I don't have Cooper Kupp, Chris, I know you said that I'm smoking stuff too, is I don't trust Matthew Stafford. I don't trust the elbow. And I know Cooper Kupp's going to be back. I think he'll be fine. I feel like it's just going to be you target or you just kind of double team Cooper Kupp, triple team him, put the field towards him. He's not going to ball out as much as he wants to. And like I said, I just don't. It's purely because of the quarterback. I do not trust the Rams situation with the quarterback they're going to have. I don't know if Matthew Stafford's going to hold up. So who's going to play quarterback if that comes to it? And that's going to affect Cooper Kupp big time. Not saying I've had him at number 11 because he battled my number 10 guy who is not on a current team right now, but I have DeAndre Hopkins. Once he finds his team, whoever it is, Kansas City, Detroit, Buffalo, there's rumors that he just wants money. So he's going to go to a team, and that quarterback's going to love it, and they're just going to feed him the ball. He's a beast. He's still, to me, a top 5 wide receiver when he's playing, but for fantasy purposes, he will not be because it's just going to be a little harder for him to do it at his age. I think they're going to start double teaming him, but I do think he'll make number 10 on my list. Luke, number 9 for you.
So number 9, going Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Detroit Lions. Dude, big season last year. Jameson Williams will be suspended the first 6 games, so he's going to be pretty much the only wide receiver in Detroit for this first 6 weeks. Then he's just going to be running hot after following the rest of the season, so he's going to be balling out again.
Yeah, that's a good take there. Doc, what do you think about Amon St. Brown? He plays in your division for the Detroit Lions.
Oh, definitely a big time threat. I mean, definitely somebody we got to watch out for. I just, all I can hope for this Detroit team is that they go back to their old Detroit ways, and Jared Goff goes back to his old quarterback ways, and puts Detroit back in the basement where they belong.
Yeah, and Chris, what do you have at number 9 for you and your wide receivers?
I got the man St. Brown as well. I mean, he doesn't give you the huge impact like Jay Jets does or Chase. I mean, he's not going to have those high games, but he's going to be very consistent for you. I mean, if you're going to pair him up with somebody, it's going to have to be somebody that has those hot and cold games. He gets a ton of targets, and he catches 70% of those targets. I mean, he earned 28% of the target share in year 2 on that offense, and it's only going to go up because, I mean, who else is on that depth chart? Jameson Williams, he's missing the first 6 games, and then you got a rookie tight end. I mean, that's their offense right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll use the running backs a little more, but like you said, that it's going to be Amon St. Brown for sure. I know Doc, it's like he just said he likes him. He doesn't like that he plays for Detroit, but like Luke said, he's definitely going to be a top 10. Doc, what do you have at number 9?
Number 9, I'm going CeeDee Lamb out of Dallas. I think that as long as Prescott can stay healthy and they can keep an arm in the backfield, I thought the numbers were good last year. CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Brandon Cooks there, it might create a little more open space for him. Chris, you like that CeeDee Lamb spot?
I do like the CeeDee Lamb. I have him ranked a little higher, but I mean, it could come down. You have Cook in the back. You have Cook there out there as well. So, I mean, you have some weapons out there in Dallas now.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with a fellow NFC East wide receiver. It's going to be A.J. Brown at my number 9 spot. I love A.J. Brown. I think Jalen Hurts kind of towards the middle to the end of the season starts to show a little bit of love to Smith. Took away some of Brown's production, but Brown did still finish in the top 10 alongside his teammate Smith, number 6 last year. I do think that Jalen Hurts is going to start, keep feeding the ball. Now they have another year under their belt. They can start getting that growth together. And like I said, A.J. Brown's a beast. Tennessee's kind of stupid for giving him up for literally nothing, it seemed like. And I like what they're doing in Philly. So I think that's going to be a high-flying offense from the high-flying Eagles. And Luke, who you have at number 8?
So number 8, going Jalen Waddle from Miami. I have him at number 8 just because of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's going to take the top off the defense. He's probably going to take the double coverage majority of the time. That's going to leave Jalen Waddle pretty open. Dude's super fast. He's a huge athlete, so he's tough to cover. I know. I watched the game where he had 4 touchdowns against the Ravens or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle make a crazy duo. The question is, Doc, can Tua stay healthy enough to give these guys the ball?
Yeah, it's a big question mark on Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill is the health of Tua. I don't think they have any decent backup quarterback.
Good answer, Doc.
Yep.
Chris, who do you have at number 8?
I got Devontae Adams out of Las Vegas. I have him a little lower on my list just because of that quarterback question. We don't know who's going to be throwing him the rock. Is it going to be Garoppolo, the porn star lover? Is it going to be Trey Lance out of San Fran? Or is it going to be fucking Brian Hoyer? We don't know.
Hoyer!
Exactly. But, I mean, Devontae Adams, he's coming off his 3rd straight season as a top 3 wide receiver. He did earn 180 targets in his first season with the Raiders. So I'm sure that's going to stay there because, I mean, Darren Waller's gone. There's rumors about Hunter Renfrow dipping. I mean, he hasn't posted a target share below 30% since 2018. So this man demands the ball. He also has 12 targets inside the 10-yard line, which is 4th most in the NFL for football, NFL National Football League. So he's a red zone target. I mean, he's big, sturdy, and he catches the ball very well.
And the question, Doc, is unlike the running back position, does a quarterback affect a wide receiver for fantasy?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No?
No,
Okay.
you can put Brian Hoyer up there. I mean, Devontae Adams still going to get his. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. So do you agree with Chris? You think Adams maybe is a little low? I mean, for our liking, or do you have something else?
No, I think Chris makes some solid points. I got him a little bit up higher on mine, but I think Chris makes some solid points on why he's going to be knocked down. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter who starts in that backfield. It's gonna cause a hit to the passing game and the
So
receiving
with that being
game.
so with that being said, who's your eighth wide receiver?
My eighth wide receiver, I am going out of Cincinnati, Jamar Chase. I think his red zone presence and the targets that he gets in the red zone, 28 and 14 games last year. I mean, you can't argue with getting points.
Chris, do you feel the hate coming from the side over there? They just said, fuck Jamar Chase. He's in the bottom of the top 10, and he's outside the top 10, man. That's a lot of hate coming out of there, huh?
I mean, hey, when we get to Jamar Chase and I give my reasons, I have a hot take. I want you to take the receipt, write down the timestamp, because at the end of the season, y'all boys are going to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have Jamar Chase that low. I mean, I have him in my top 10, but I don't have him at number 8. Do have Jalen Waddle, like Luke said, at number 8. I think Miami has probably one of the better duos at wide receivers that can be argued with Smith and A.J. Brown as well. But I think that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are both beasts. Having Tyreek Hill is going to create a lot of opportunities for Jalen Waddle. He can do the same thing Tyreek Hill can do. He can definitely be a speedster and burn the defense, or he can take a quick pass 90 yards. I mean, and that's going to create a lot of fantasy points for him. I think that benefits Tua as well if you want to take a reach on him later on in the draft, like the middle rounds. But I do think Jalen Waddle is going to be a top 10 receiver. He was number 8 last year. ESPN this year has him number 10. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to slow down with the Miami Dolphins out there and that offense. Luke, who do you have at number 7?
So number 7, CeeDee Lamb from the Cowboys. I think he's the only real threat for the Cowboys offense right now for wide receiver wise. Yeah, they have Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup, but Brandon Cooks at this point is starting to get old. He's been passed around from team to team his entire career. So new team for him. Michael Gallup, solid player for the Cowboys, but CeeDee Lamb is going to be getting the majority of his targets from Dak Prescott if he's healthy.
Yeah, and Doc, I've been saying CeeDee Lamb's not a true number 1 receiver, and I think after last year I ate those words from a buddy of mine in one of my group chats. Do you think CeeDee Lamb has what it takes to still be a consistent number 1 for the next few years?
Yeah, I think he's absolutely got what it takes, and I think there's a number of teams that he can be a number 1 wide receiver on. I mean, there's several teams I can think of off the top of my head that would benefit greatly from putting him on that roster. So I think, like you said, what he came through last year and the numbers he put up, I mean, definitely, a huge improvement for him and showing his capabilities and raising his ceiling up a lot higher.
Yeah, and with that being said, Chris, who is your 7th wide receiver, though?
I'm going to go with Luke here. I got CeeDee Lamb as well. I mean, Dallas force-fed him the rock last season. He saw 156 targets last year. He did finish as wide receiver 6 on the year. My only thing is if Dak is healthy. I mean, he averaged 15.5 points per game when Dak was in there, and I believe he only averaged around 10 when Dak was out of the game. So, I mean, Dak is the key right here for CD. His passing volume, though, in Dallas is going to go down a little bit. They got that new OC out there that doesn't want to throw the ball as much, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, that's the reason. Apparently, that's the reason why Kellen Moore left the team is because they weren't going to be throwing the ball nearly as much. And Doc, who do you have at number 7?
Number 7, I'm going Jalen Waddle out of Miami. I think 75 receptions last year, 1,356 yards, almost doubled his yards per reception to 18.1. Show what he can do when he gets out of the open field. He's got speed, 8 touchdowns. Just a great performance from him last year. I think him paired with Tyreek Hill, having 2 threats like that, avoids, the double coverage consistently on one or the other. So I think, it opens up that field for both of them to truly excel all year long.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all on a board that Jalen Waddle is going to be a top 10. I mean, I don't think Chris has him yet, so we'll have to see if he falls on that top 10 for him. Luke, we're getting to that 6th spot. Who do you have there?
So number 6 for me is going to be Cooper Kupp. Dude's a ball magnet. Not a super freak athlete, average dude, but for some reason he gets a bunch of catches, big-time yards all the time when he's on the field. So maybe some injury concerns with him, I mean, he missed half the season last year with injuries, but I like Cooper Kupp if healthy at number 6.
And sorry to backtrack, I did not give my number 7 spot.
Damn.
I'm going Stephon Diggs at number 7. I think he's still one of the top receivers in the league. I think a little bit of chemistry issues might cause him because you kind of start to see it at the end of last year, that especially in the playoff game, Stephon Diggs was starting to become his old self in Minnesota, and I think that might affect it. Could affect his relationship with Josh Allen. I'm also maybe anticipating that maybe DeAndre Hopkins is going to be there, so that's kind of why I'm having him at number 7 right now on my list. Could go up if Hopkins does sign elsewhere, but as of right now, I have him at number 7. Doc, go back to Luke's take. Cooper Kupp, do you think he does bounce back this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd like to see better performance out of not that they got much to work with for a quarterback in Los Angeles, but it would be nice to see, some better passes out of the backfield. But at the end of the day, Cooper's a natural receiver. He's going to come down with the ball. He's going to get his catches, and he's going to make plays.
And Chris, who do you have at number 6?
I got our boy A.J. Brown. I mean, this man is just a tank of a wide receiver since his days at Ole Miss. I mean, when that gym picture surfaced, the man looked like he was roided up. He's on a great offense, MVP caliber of a quarterback. He checked my block last year because out of Tennessee, he had 2 years back-to-back with an injury. Eagles last year, fully healthy season. So, I mean, I've A.J. up there. I don't think Devontae Smith is going to take any shares from him.
Luke, with that being said, do you think that the growth that they were having with Smith and Hurts, do you think that's going to hurt A.J. Brown, or do you think it's still going to be A.J. Brown as number 1 out there in Philly?
No, I think A.J. Brown's still going to be number 1. I think Devontae Smith is just going to open up more opportunities for A.J. Brown in this offense with the Devontae Smith just coming out as a better wide receiver, getting a little more targets. So it's hard to cover 2 all-pro wide receivers on the same team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And Doc, you're number 6 wide receiver in this top 10 rankings.
Yeah, like usual, I'm right there with Chris. I'm going A.J. Brown. 145 targets last year, stepped the numbers up, almost 1,500 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns. I mean, that's good for 66 points. So gotta love getting numbers from A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown's a beast. I had him, Doc, last year. You weren't here last year in the league, but I had him as my wide receiver, helped carry me to the championship before Damar Hamlin decided to die on me. So sucks I couldn't use A.J. Brown potentially in that championship for the full potential I had. But I'm going to go A. Brown, but it's not Brown. It's St. Brown. I'm going Amon St. Brown at number 6. I think he is going to put himself in that top-tier wide receiver this year. I think he's going to have a huge, huge breakout year. He definitely broke out last year. But like Chris and you guys have said, no Jameson Williams for the first 6 games. We saw what he did without him last year, and we saw what he did with him this year. And I did say Jared Goff's going to be a top 10 quarterback. And to be a top 10 quarterback, you need to have that receiver there. So I'm going to have Amon St. Brown in my top 6, actually, is he's number 6. Luke, number 5 for you as we approach the top 5 finally.
So my top 5, number 5 is going to be A.J. Brown. We've already talked about this dude. Dude's a freak. Looks like he's roided out all the time. Huge at the wide receiver position. Catches everything. Good quarterback. So, and Devontae Smith's going to free up some of that double coverage off of him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we've all hammered that A.J. Brown is one of the top receivers in the league. Chris, who do you have at number 5?
I got our boy Stephon Diggs. This could be dropping the D-Hop signs. I mean, D-Hop is going to want that percentage of targets going his way. But Diggs, 23 targets inside the 20-yard line, ranks 7th most in the NFL. He's a red zone threat. I mean, he has a unique combination of weekly target volume and touchdown upside. If D-Hop comes, D-Hop is that red zone target too. So I think that's going to take some touchdowns away from Diggs.
Yeah, Doc, do you agree that Stephon Diggs is still going to be one of those top 5 receivers this year, or do you just have someone else on that list at number 5?
No, I actually, right with Chris, I got Stephon Diggs at number 5. That could change both with the DeAndre Hopkins signing. Could also change if he can't get that attitude and under control and keep those emotions in check. Like you said, we kind of saw it towards the end of last year, and the frustration was very visible on the field. But if he can kind of patch it up with Josh Allen and they can get that chemistry and find that cohesion. I mean, he has plenty of room to improve from last year.
Yeah, Luke, are you a Stephon Diggs kind of fan, though? Do you like what they have in Buffalo with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, with that connection?
Yeah, I do. I think that frustration with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen was due to some of Josh Allen's relationship issues he had going on during the playoff series time. Josh Allen went through a very public breakup, and I guess he stayed up all night the night before, getting yelled at by his girlfriend. So
Yeah, that's
Stephon
never
Diggs
fun
heard about
to
it.
get.
Yeah. Now Josh Allen's
Big
got
facts.
some like supermodel movie star
Yeah, Haley
girlfriend, so he should be good to go. The last time quarterback had A-list celebrity girlfriend, they won MVP that season. So we'll see what happens with Josh Allen. But
So you're saying because Josh Allen is dating Haley Steinfeld, the Black Widow's like whatever sidekick, or not Black Widow, but Hawkeye's sidekick. Now Josh Allen's going to win MVP.
yeah, she's going to keep him very happy this season.
All right. So write that down, Chris and Doc. Josh Allen wins MVP due to actress as his girlfriend. Love it, man. I love the take
Hey,
there, Luke.
throw a little asterisk on there if they stay together the full season. If they make the playoffs times and they start breaking up, Josh Allen's going to lose it again, have a fucking terrible game.
I thought Lamar was winning MVP with his 6,000 yards throwing.
That was before he started dating Haley Steinfeld.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Oh, now he's down to 4,000 yards. Okay.
Yeah, it might be
Josh is up to
4,000.
7. Josh is up to 7.
Yeah, Josh's
probably-
relationship. Yeah, Josh's
Lamar's
relationship
the runner-up.
affects how many yards Lamar Jackson has. So
Hey, happened 3 times happened like 4 times for Aaron Rodgers. Every time he had his A-list celebrity girlfriend, he won MVP.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's why Mahomes won MVP too. Maybe his wife was under check, and they patched up that that drama, and now he's MVP too.
Kept her at the stadium.
Yeah, but let's go back to our list while we're doing this.
Get her out of the
I have
boxes.
I have number 5, CeeDee Lamb. We've all said it already why we think he's going to be there. Dak's going to target him. It seemed like the relationship they had got a little better from the year before. Dak was actually targeting him a lot more. CeeDee Lamb was actually not dropping the ball nearly as much. Was a lot more consistent as the number 1 wide receiver. I do think adding Brandon Cooks with that wide receiver core is just going to create more opportunity. I think Brandon Cooks still has what it takes to be a good number 2 wide receiver with Dallas. I'm not a huge Dak fan, but Dak's good enough to get CeeDee Lamb the ball. Luke, number 4 for you.
So number 4 is going to be Stephon Diggs. We've talked about him a lot so far, but I think Josh Allen keeps his relationship problems in check. This is without D-Hop being on the team. He has a solid number 2 wide receiver, Gabe Davis for UCF, who gets a decent amount of targets, but I think Stephon Diggs, very consistent wide receiver. He gets his targets. He gets his touchdowns. So he's going to be solid, top 5 pick at the wide receiver. So he's my number 4.
And Chris, before you roll into your number 4 wide receiver, do you feel Gabe Davis is a solid wide receiver in the league?
I think he's one of those, like I said earlier, one of those hot and cold wide receivers. I mean, he has a hot game that he can pop off if he gets that 80-yard touchdown, or he's not going to get looked at and get any of those targets.
With that being said, who do you have at number 4?
I got my boy from LSU, Jamar Chase. I'm going to give you the reasons why. I mean, he led all wide receivers in red zone targets per game. He got 28 with the 14 games he played. He did miss 4 games with a crazy freak accident. He got 30% target shares, 22 receiving touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, most by any wide receiver since Odell Beckham, another LSU wide receiver. I mean, Zach Taylor turned the keys over to Joe Burrow and said, "Here, have fun with the offense." They turned it into a pass-heavy scheme. I mean, he's going to get the targets. His per-game targets increased from his rookie season. And Mark, timestamp it right now. Write it down on your fucking piece of paper. Chase hasn't peaked yet, and he's about to peak this season. Chase is going to lead the NFL in wide receiver touchdowns this year.
And what he's trying to say, Luke and Doc, is both you guys can go fuck yourself because Jamar Chase is about to take over this league and be a top 5 wide receiver like he was his rookie year. So fuck both of you. Doc, who's your number 4 wide receiver?
Hold on, real quick.
I don't agree with.
Real quick, he did miss 4 games last year and still finished as a wide receiver 11. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, I'm not saying he's shit. I think he's a top wide receiver. He's a top 10 wide receiver. I don't know how many wide receivers we got in the NFL. He's a top 10. I mean, that makes him a good receiver.
But 7's
They're saying we
disrespectful
gonna
in
do
his eyes.
shit.
All right? 7 is disrespectful in his eyes, Doc. That's all I'm saying.
Well, be better.
I have him as 11. He's my number 11, but
But Doc, who's
I
your
don't
number
think-
4?
I don't think he's that good.
Number 4 for me, I'm going Devontae Adams. 180 targets last year, over 1,500 yards and 14 scores. I mean, you just can't argue with the results. I know that we've talked about the quarterback situation, but he's already proven that he can play for a subpar quarterback and still get his numbers. The only concern is, the reception to target percentage. But aside from that, I mean, the guy's still going to ball hawk, put up numbers, still a red zone threat. Still, I mean, you're not going to hit him on an 80-yard touchdown, but he's going to get yards. He's going to get you touchdowns.
Yeah, and number 4, Doc, I have what Chris said. I have Jamar Chase. So if someone's not good, because I guess he won Rookie of the Year, his rookie year, which was his first year. That was 2 seasons ago. I guess Lamar Jackson's not good anymore because he hasn't done anything since his MVP season. So if we're going based on wars don't matter and things like that, so I guess Jamar Chase isn't good, but he had over 1,000 yards in 4 games missed, 9 touchdowns, over 80, almost 90 catches, with an actual stud number 2 receiver not named Gabe Davis, actual T. Higgins, who is a better number 2. So he's sharing the ball, and Tyler Boyd, who's a pretty hell of a good flex receiver or flex wide receiver who's going to be, or slot wide receiver, I'm sorry, who's going to be on the team next year. So I mean, there's a lot of people that he's sharing the ball with, and he's still productive. He's good at catching those slants from Joe Burrow, Mr. Joe Slants, and he turns a 7-yard pass into a 25, 30-yard pass on a consistent dime. So
That's what you got to do.
I don't see where the problem is with Jamar Chase. I mean, yeah, he got hurt last
There's
year.
only one guy. You saying that like you and Chris are like this is a 2v2 thing here. There's only one guy that's got a problem with Jamar Chase. No, I think Jamar Chase is a phenomenal receiver. I agree that Lamar Jackson is dog shit. But Jamar Chase is a great wide receiver.
I don't even think that was part of the argument with Lamar.
The problem was you had Jamar Chase at number 8, and that's just disrespectful. I'm sorry. We're not going to fly with that, all right? We don't agree with that, Doc. And we're just going to tell you how it feels, Doc.
I don't give a fuck what you agree with.
I don't see DJ Moore on this list.
Talk to the fucking guy. Talk to the fucking guy that didn't have him in the top 10, all right? Don't fucking talk to me about it because I had him in my top 10.
Jamar Chase going to hurt his hip again. He's going to miss half the season. He'll be a fucking maybe top 20 wide receiver.
Well, fucking him and Lamar can go use the restroom together then, because Lamar's gonna fucking hurt half the season.
Lamar was brought up, by the way, talking about how he ain't shit because he hasn't won an MVP since his second season. So I was agreeing with that.
I didn't bring Lamar up.
Anyway,
no, I know, but I'm agreeing with it.
Let's digress. Getting a little off topic here. I kind of opened a can of worms there. Sorry, boys. Luke, could you hit number 3?
Devontae Adams is going to be my number 3 wide receiver. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback for him. He's gonna get the majority of targets. I mean, it's him and Hunter Renfrow, which not really a question who you're gonna throw to first. Devontae Adams catches everything, comes his way. He's a beast. He's bigger than all the other corners. So I think it's gonna be either Jimmy G or Tom Brady throwing him the ball.
Well, Tom Brady did come out today.
Well, Tom Brady has to get 24 votes from the owners to play if he wants to be owners.
Tom Brady came out
he sells
today.
his shares.
Tom Brady came out today. Tom Brady came out today and said that he wasn't playing at all.
Yeah, he did say that. He
might be lying.
Well, he might be. We'll see how that goes. But you guys
wait till Jimmy G gets cut.
You guys keep sleeping on a wide receiver. They did add Jacoby Myers, so I don't think Renfrow is going to be the actual number 2 when coming into the season. I think I'm not saying Myers is great, but Myers is going to be the 2 probably in Las Vegas.
Renfrow has been on a downslide.
Yeah, definitely.
Myers had a good season last year with the Patriots too.
Considering Mac Jones was QB, yeah, it was pretty solid.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, Jimmy G is kind of similar to Mac Jones, in my opinion. Chris, who do you have at number 3?
I got the cheetah, Tyreek Hill himself. And you might have noticed I don't have Jalen Waddle here. I just don't think Jalen Waddle is going to get in that top 10 with – I mean, we have 10 outstanding receivers, and I think they're just going to put up bigger numbers than Jalen Waddle is. But, I mean, Tyreek finished top 24 in fantasy wide receivers in 12 of his 16 fully healthy games. I mean, Tyreek delivers that boom game. He leads all wide receivers in targets and receptions of 20-plus yards down the field. I mean, you want to look for a deep slant, Tyreek Hill's the man. He has that big playability.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Doc, do you agree with him? Is Tyreek Hill your number 3 wide receiver?
No, number 3, I'm going with the inspiration behind my team name, 2 girls, 1 cup. That is going to be Cooper Kupp. Coming off a down year, obviously had some injury problems. Still 90 or 75 receptions. Was still on pace to have another solid year like he did the year before with almost 2,000 receiving yards and 16 touchdowns. He had 6 and 9 games last year. I think he comes back from this injury hungry, and I think he comes back ready to go and ready to take LA by storm again.
Yeah, I want to see Cooper Kupp succeed. To me, it's just all based on the quarterback, and I don't think they're going to have a situation there where it's going to benefit Cooper Kupp. I'm going Tyreek Hill. I'm going to agree with Chris. He said he's one of the fast receivers in the league. He burns the secondary like it's nothing with Jalen Waddle there. You can't just double team Tyreek Hill because Jalen Waddle will beat you underneath. So it creates a lot more opportunity for Tyreek Hill. I think Tua can still give him the ball, even though I'm not a huge fan. I got Tyreek at number 3. Luke, in our top 2, who do you have at number 2?
So number 2 for me is going to be Tyreek Hill. We've talked about him. Dude's fastest wide receiver in the NFL. Ball magnet. Tua can underthrow him by so far, and he'll run back and catch the ball and still take it for a touchdown. I feel like 50% of the time Tyreek Hill has the ball in his hands, he's about to go 80 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've all hammered Tyreek Hill. Chris, who do you have at number 2?
At number 2, I'm going to ride the train of quarterbacks don't fucking matter. I have Cooper Kupp. Okay?
My man.
I mean, he had an incredible last season before he got injured. Still finished as wide receiver 24. I mean, from weeks 1 through 10, Kupp saw 31% of those target shares. That's only going to go up. I mean, he's dominant. He's their offense. All you can do is give Kupp the ball. And I'm going to use the same fucking argument Doc used about King Henry. It works. You're going to keep feeding him. Double team him. Kupp's the best wide receiver ever. Okay?
Grammar's not your thing. I think you meant to say best white receiver, not white best receiver. But hey,
It's Southern education.
Yeah, I understand. Go Tigers. But Doc,
Go
who
Tigers.
Who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I'm going Tyreek Hill. Everybody's hit it. You know, everybody knows who Tyreek Hill is, why he's good. We don't need to hammer it. My only concern for him, 15 touchdowns 3 years ago, but last 2 seasons, the touchdown numbers have kind of dropped pretty significantly, only 7 last year. So a lot of concern there, but made up for with 1,700 receiving yards. So, and 119 catches. So, he makes up the points elsewhere, but, if he can put the touchdowns together with it, it's going to be an explosive season that could easily catapult him to number 1.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill was number 2 last year, Doc. So like you said, he made up for that without the touchdowns. I mean, in a PPR league, Tyreek Hill is your guy. Speaking of my guy, I have Devontae Adams number 2 at my spot. I think no matter who's throwing the ball, he's going to be there. I think Devontae Adams is just one of the pure best wide receivers in the game, and it's hard to ignore that in fantasy. He was number 3 last year. So I literally just flipped Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. And number 1, it seems like it's been a consensus for the 3rd episode in a row. We have the same wide receiver. Yeah, I think something said, Doc, about that.
I got something to say.
I told you who my number 1 was.
So we
Chase
don't have
Claypool, baby.
We don't have Justin Jefferson as our number 1 wide receiver.
I got
Chase
DJ.
Claypool, baby.
I got DJ Moore.
My man, let's go.
Hey, DJ Moore out of
Bears
Maryland.
coming, baby.
Let's go.
Writing that down so that the 3 of you have DJ Moore. I will ride with JJ, Justin Jefferson.
What did you say, Luke?
What? DJ Moore. Out of
Oh,
Maryland.
okay.
Yeah, so this episode,
Jeez.
Luke's a
I'm going to
Maryland
switch. I'm
fan.
going to go DJ Moore, too. We're going to make it a triple crown here. I'm going DJ Moore. I'm changing it.
I was so pissed the Ravens skipped past on him drafting him out of Maryland. Like, come on, easy pick. Take DJ Moore.
And Doc, hopefully you guys are all right. I mean, that just makes the Chicago Bears that much better. And Justin Fields will definitely elevate his game in the passing side. And
Hey,
that
DJ
will
Moore
be
got a
the
quarterback
Bears.
now. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, DJ
Just-
Moore balled out without a quarterback.
Just little asterisk. I do have JJ as number 1.
Same.
I mean, I think
Same.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
Jefferson one.
Just so that's out there.
There's a ball magnet.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Fucking Kirk Daddy Cousins could fucking throw him the ball fucking 100 times a game, and Justin Jefferson's going to catch it 99.
I won't blame you, Luke, for taking him number 1 overall either.
Yeah.
And that's
It's a possibility. He carried my fantasy team last year. Not to the playoffs, but at least
there was
a
a week
respectable
that
record.
I think towards the end of the year, Luke fucked me on a game. I think it was the week they played the Patriots on that Thursday night. I think it was Thanksgiving. Oh man, they Jefferson dropped like 40-something points, and I was like, shit. That's the reason why I lost the game. And
It was like 40 points in the second half or something like that. It was like
Yeah, I was
first
like,
half he had like one catch.
I was literally texting you, please don't drop 80. Just drop fucking 50 or less. I mean, that's saying something if you're begging for 50 or less. But let's move
He's a
on.
beast.
We are going to skip the NFL, just time constraint. We're going to jump to NCAA 2A, like Doc says, something that we haven't really talked about much on this show, starting with the Colorado Buffaloes, something we normally probably would never talk about from the Pac-12, but they made a lot of headlines this year, signing Deion Sanders as their next head coach. The main talks now, besides the transfer portal, which we're not going to hammer that, the main talks are, Doc, Colorado's interested in joining the Big 12. They do have 2 big noon games to start off their schedule against TCU and Nebraska. Those are their first 2. But are you interested in maybe seeing Colorado transfer over to maybe the Big 12 where Texas and Oklahoma are leaving and actually join a better conference in the Pac-12?
I mean, to be honest with you, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, I don't know if the Big 12 is a better conference anymore. I think Pac-12 is going to have more competition in it at the moment. I mean, Baylor, TCU, or BYU. Yeah, TCU too, right? TCU, BYU.
Baylor, yeah. They got UCF and Cincinnati as well, too.
And Houston.
Oh, Cincinnati, yeah, that's something to step up. Houston, I think Houston dominated in a very weak. What were they in the All-American?
American
Athletic. Yeah, I'm not super thrilled by Houston. It's going to be interesting to see what they do when they step up against real talent. But I don't know. I don't know. Colorado,
UCF there too.
Yeah, UCF's there.
Yeah, that matters.
UCF's 4-1 against SEC player.
Yeah, I mean, it'll make it interesting for sure. I don't think that Colorado is up at the level to where they're going to bring any serious heat to the Big 12. I mean, they didn't win in the Pac-12. You're going to tell me that they're going. Is it going to be cool to see them go to a tougher conference? I mean, it would have been nice if they won in the Pac-12 before they came over. Then.
Speaking of winning, Doc, I mean, Chris, we were talking about it too. Colorado was 1-11 last year. Do they have serious expectations? I know they have those two big noon games because of Deion Sanders. Do you think those expectations are going to be met, or where do you think they're going to fall this year? Chris.
Oh, Chris. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, Luke, that's your cue, Luke.
Oh, okay, let me hop in.
I thought Luke was answering that.
I got this one. I think they're going to be a 5-win team at best this year. They're going to drop the first 2 big noon kickoff games against TCU and Nebraska. They're going to drop both those games.
No, they're going to take Nebraska. Nebraska is a fucking dumpster fire right now.
I don't think it matters.
I mean, all of this is just about a money grab on money. I mean, Prime is bringing money in. Everyone's going to come out. Season tickets are sold out already with him. I mean, the summer game was sold out. It's all money. Let's see how you do in the Pac-12 first season before we start talking about moving conferences.
Look, I'm gonna just say, what he did previously to Colorado goes a long way. I think that he is going to help reshape the culture into a winning culture in Colorado. I just don't think it's going to happen the first, maybe even the second year, especially with how many folks enter the transfer portal. They're going to bring in a whole new team unless they're bringing in some serious talent, some backups from other schools, like some powerhouse schools that are going to find their opportunity to start coming to Colorado and playing for Deion. But otherwise, no, I think this year is going to be a wash. Even if the guys come through, it's still a lot that you've got to pick up on the playbook and everything else. Guys that aren't used to learning a new playbook in a couple of days, like you would in the pros, like DeAndre Hopkins about to do. So I think this year, I think Luke's got it. I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 win season. I think that they get the shit absolutely beaten out of them. I think they get just absolutely cleaned by TCU, but I think they come in and I think they, if they don't beat, Nebraska by a couple scores, I think they eke one out. I definitely think they get a win over Nebraska in that second big noon game. And then it'll be, interesting to see what they do with the rest of the season. But I'm gonna say 4 to 5 wins for Colorado this year.
I mean, Doc, I have a question. Like, of course it's Prime that did it, but did Prime do what he did at Jackson State because of the coach he was or because of the talent he brought in? I mean, he got that 5-star wide receiver out there. I mean, the talent he brought in there, Jackson State has never seen before. I mean, I'd have to look at.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is that's why it's not going to happen this year and maybe not even next year. He's got to get the talent in here, and I think that, a little bit of a coincidence that everybody's joining the portal to get out of there. So now there's room for him to bring that talent in, and he can go and recruit and say, hey, I've got room for you to start. So I think he's absolutely, it's 100% it's the talent that he brought in, but he's going to do that again.
But he's now going against other teams that have that talent now, though. I mean, I can't off the top of my name know what conference Jackson State's in, but the teams the teams he faced doesn't have the talent that he had on his team. When he's joining Pac-12 or Big Ten, they're about to have those 5-star recruits.
Yeah, well, that's where it's going to be tough to gauge. I mean, that's where, he's going to get that talent. I think that's where it's going to come down to the play calling and his true ability as a coach, and that's where it's going to come into test. So it's going to be make or break for him, that's for sure.
Well, Deion Sanders has brought some talent back to Colorado. All those 5-stars he brought to Jackson State have all transferred to follow him. He's brought 5 players in 1 week from Florida State over. So,
but they can't play this year.
I haven't looked too far into it.
You can't play the first year after transfer, right?
It depends. It depends.
They changed it. I think most players
Did
play
they?
right away.
Really.
The transfer portal now.
Right away.
The transfer portal is what I forgot which coach called out Prime, but it's become more of kind of like free agency. That's the problem that people are having with transfer portal.
And you got to look at those players transferring out. Who are they? You don't see those players showing up at some other school. So, like in the headlines, so they could be those players. You said, "Hey, I don't have room for you," and they're transferring out. So, yeah, the headline's big with like 50 plus, 60 plus players transferring out, but that could be the whole team.
Transfer portal is a way to keep a scholarship.
Yeah.
And one thing before, because I have another question about Prime for you boys that I'm actually interested to hear is the Jackson State played in the SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Yeah, so not the Sun Belt. Remember they're HBCU.
HBCU.
Yeah, so that's a SWAC conference.
Hey, fire marching bands in the HBCUs.
Oh, I definitely agree on that one. But
nothing better than watching the Jackson State and FAMU halftime show. I loved it. I love watching the marching bands go at it.
But my last
best part of the game. It was way better than the game. I literally had to switch networks to go watch the halftime show for that, and I did, and didn't come back for the second half of the game.
I have a question though.
They went off.
Question for you, Doc, and you, Chris. No, I'm sorry, Luke. Luke's mentioned it, and I've heard it too from other people. Is does Prime leave after a few years if they actually become good? Does he take a Florida State offer if they offer to him, or another big name from a actual good school from a Power 5 that maybe he uses as like another stepping stool to get to where he wants to go?
Absolutely, it's all about the limelight for him. It's all about getting into the showcase. If he cared about success and building the dynasty, he would have stayed at Jackson State. Let's be real. He had it going. He had all the tools, all the making for it. He's going to do it temporarily here at Colorado, and he'll rinse and repeat, whatever Power 5 conference school that he goes to next. Colorado is technically being in the Pac-12, but he's aiming SEC or like a Michigan if he wants to go Big Ten. It would be like a Michigan or Ohio State.
Watch him for Alabama when Nick Saban retires.
Well, if Nick Saban retires,
could be a big one.
You could also
him and Nick Saban,
him and Nick Saban they're good buddies now. They're doing all the Aflac commercials together.
But you could also think about the NFL too. Maybe he might take this opportunity, ball out in college for a little bit. Maybe 5-10 years, he's an NFL coach somewhere. Maybe he goes to coach for Jerry Jones, or maybe if Jerry Jones somehow, not saying it's going to happen, but he's a little older, passes away. Stephen Jones is over the team, and they give primetime a spot in Dallas. That's money right there. That's a money grab.
That's something we're going to talk about in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I don't think he takes it. I think he's not head coach.
I don't think he's. I think he's going to have to prove himself. Especially being in if Colorado makes it into the Big 12, I think he's going to have to prove himself on a bit of a bigger stage in Colorado to get a Dallas Cowboys head coaching job.
Yeah, I don't think Deion takes a job where he's not the boss.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, that's why I said Jerry Jones isn't there. Stephen Jones, we don't know how his personality is compared to Jerry. Jerry and Stephen are two different personalities.
Yeah, Jerry's a dickhead.
Well, it's Jerry's team. So, he's the general manager. He's president.
Very hands-on.
Yeah. So, but Chris, a topic that we wanted to talk about, speaking of Nick Saban and speaking of your hat that you're wearing, the SEC, they have announced their 2024 schedule because Texas and Oklahoma are coming a year early to the conference where the big boys apparently play. And speaking of the big boys, they're still going to play that easy bullshit 8-game conference schedule instead of going to 9 games like most of the other conferences. How do you feel about that new change or that actual state change?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it. I was very confused when the news broke today about it. I was reading a lot of teams were against it. I mean, even the SEC commissioner was against it. They all wanted this 9-game schedule. I mean, with the 8-game schedule, you have one rival and then you cycle through the SEC. I mean, it's going to be nice because you play each team in the SEC twice every 4 years. So it'll be interesting to see some teams that like LSU doesn't play. Like I dropped fact earlier, Texas A&M hasn't played Georgia only one time since A&M's been in the SEC. So it'll be interesting to see some of these matchups that haven't really been playing. But I hate the one rival thing. I want to see LSU play Alabama every fucking year.
And Doc, I was going to propose this, and I want to hear your opinion if you like it. I think if they go to nine games against the conference, you can keep 2 rivals. So like Chris just said, you can keep an Alabama LSU, and Alabama can still play Auburn, things like that. Texas could play Oklahoma. They could play Texas A&M. Those are 2 rivalry games, for example. And they could play 3 out of conference games, and then one of those, because typically one of those 3 for teams that play 3 are a tougher game. Do you think that would work for the SEC, or are you okay with the 8-game schedule? What kind of format would you like to see for the SEC? Because remember, it's only a 1-year temporary schedule.
I'm honestly good with 8 or 9 as long as it's a rotating and not a conference, a division schedule within the conference. That should always piss me off. Seeing the same opponents every single year, you don't get the chance to see the other side of the conference. I think at least, the 2 rivalry games I think is a fantastic idea. I mean, there's so many. I mean, schools have rivalries everywhere. I mean, Illinois and Missouri to open up the season has always been a big rivalry. Interconference rivalries are a staple, playing for the different trophies and everything else. The mascots going at it during the game. I mean, you've got to keep the rivalries. I think leave it open to what the schedule is. I don't think, maybe don't base it off the rivalries. You got enough rivalries within the conference that you should come up with 2. You should come out of it with 2 anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because you want to build new rivalries, and to do that, like Chris said, you kind of got to filter through new teams. But you've been so accustomed to that rivalry, like LSU, Florida, LSU, Bama, and Florida's in the East and LSU's in the West. So
Florida State.
Oh, but that's
even though it's out of conference,
yeah, that will stay the same. But Florida can't play Georgia, and Florida can't play Tennessee. It's going to be Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee loses that rivalry to Alabama, like things like that. Luke, I know you're going to be joining the Big 12, so like, you're going to see UCF form new rivalries, but for the SEC, like what is a good way for that to be happy to make, the SEC fans and SEC players and teams happy?
I mean, I don't see why they can't do 2 rivals with an 8-game in conference either way. It doesn't make sense that they only have 1 rival. Like, why can't they play those 2 rivals every year, then play 6 other teams and rotate those 6 teams? But the SEC just this is a way to keep them having at least 1 team in the playoffs or 2 teams, and most likely. Because when was the last time you see Alabama and Georgia play in the regular season against each other? It doesn't happen. They don't play each other. Georgia and Alabama usually take the easier schedules for SEC play. But I hope they keep some of these big rivalry games, even if they're on like a rotating schedule. Maybe they still do the LSU Alabama game and they do LSU and Florida games. Try to keep those games as much as possible as rivalry games, but I don't know. We'll see. SEC is keeping their cards in their pocket so they can get as many championships as possible.
And Chris, you're the SEC guy. I'm about to be an SEC guy in another year. LSU, you guys kind of got shafted, in my opinion, because these 4 new teams, I still consider Missouri and A&M new teams for the SEC. I mean, they've only been around for like a decade, and now you have Texas and Oklahoma, which is a rivalry. We know that. You can still have Texas and A&M. That could be a rivalry, but LSU plays the Alabamas and the Floridas every year. Who is their rivalry going to be? Is it really A&M? I know y'all play each other in every year, but your rivalries just got taken away because these new Big 12 teams, the 4 of them, are coming in, and it takes away from that traditional SEC rivalry that you guys had for so many years.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier with y'all, it'd either be A&M or, like I said, Arkansas. We battle for the boot every year. So, I mean, I'm going to have to lean maybe towards Arkansas, but Like we were talking to one of our friends, Cowboy, earlier. I mean, if they went 9 games, 3 rivalries, that's all about competition. But like Luke hit on the nail. I mean, the SEC is looking for teams in the playoffs, and if you have these teams going against the best teams in the SEC, then those SEC teams are going to be racking up losses, and that's. I mean, the playoffs is moving to 12 teams in 2024. So I mean, we might be able to see 2 or 3 lost teams, but right now it looks like the playoff committee is looking for that record over strength of schedule.
Yeah, because I think it's it's the top 6 conference winners and then 6 at-large is what they're doing. So it might not even be Power Five. It could be literally 4 Power 5 conference winners and then 2 like non-Power Five. So the American Athletic or like the I don't know, who another team that made it. So but that could also screw the Irish because the Irish will never get a top 4 spot. So things like that you got to look forward to. But yeah, I think college is a mess. I think right now the SEC is going to have to figure something out. It's only a 1-year temporary schedule, boys. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do now that, like I said, my team's joining there. I feel like we just fucked everything up for you guys. And, with that, I'm excited for college football, though, now. I think you have a lot more to play for. I think it's still going to be – you're still going to schedule a little bit of competition because 12 teams, though, you still want to compete for that last spot. There's going to be teams that are going to be pushing for that bubble team. So you guys have anything to say about this subject before we move on?
No, I think we said everything we had to.
And like I said to start the show, we have a new segment that it all depends on you, beautiful viewers out there listening from yours guys at Sack House or Gal Sack House. And it's going to be called the Listener's Mail. Chris came up with the name today. Love the name, actually, because, everyone has this mail name. But Listener's Mail, typically we've been getting a couple requests, things we should talk about, questions we should maybe bring up. And some guy that my office that I work in, hit me and Chris up on our Instagram page. So you guys can definitely participate. You hit us up on our Instagram page, even our TikTok page, comment on our YouTube videos. Like I said, All About the Balls podcast. Or you look for the username, the Sack House. Even on Twitter, we will definitely read your guys' stuff. And we'll definitely talk about it amongst the 4 of us and kind of voice it out. So today we got a good one. And it's always been a topic people like to bring up, but the best sports movie of all time. I mean, there's so many good ones. Seems like baseball's got a couple in there. I know football's definitely got a few. I mean, now how do we dictate what the best is? Do we dictate the best is like, one that's your favorite? Or are we considering the best what the population thinks? But I'm definitely interested to see what the 3 of you have to say. And Doc, I want to start with you.
I know what Luke's is.
Yeah, Luke's
I know what Luke's
got
is. No, yeah. Luke's is fucking drumline after talking about that marching band performance.
Hey, that's a very, very underrated movie, though. I actually like Drumline.
I watched Drumline on repeat.
I'm kind of
watching that. Luke was watching that doc on the airplane instead of the Ravens game in the playoffs.
That was more entertaining.
Honestly, I should have been.
But now going back, I mean, I'm kind of torn between my 2. There's 2 that really, really stick out to me. I feel like the one that I want to say is going to be kind of like the obvious. Everybody knows it's one of the greatest movies of all time. So I'm gonna leave that one out. That would be Remember the Titans, obviously. I'm gonna go with a personal favorite of mine, Coach Carter, with Samuel L. I mean, just a fantastic movie. A guy to come into the inner city when he owns his own store, his own retail store, sends his kid to a private school. Kid withdraws from the private school to go and play for dad, who's coaching down in the inner city with gangs and everything else. Timo Cruz dealing with the gang life while trying to play ball. Just seeing a team come together and kind of shape up from that inner city kind of quote unquote low life, kind of person to being, suit and tie wearing on game day, going to college, making something, based on a true story of the Richmond Oilers. So fantastic movie. One of my favorites of all time. I've seen it many, many, many times. So Coach Carter for me.
Yeah, definitely a young Channing Tatum too, Doc, in that movie as well.
Yes.
Before the Money Mike movie he made. Luke, you gave us some names before the show as little jokes, but is that joke a reality? Yeah, is that joke a reality, or are you gonna actually give us what you really truly feel?
Hey, one of those is reality. So I'm going the longest yard. All-star cast. Come on,
Old or
Burt
new
Reynolds.
one?
Adam,
Okay.
the 2005 version of the longest yard.
Okay.
So all-star
original?
cast. Burt Reynolds. What? Stop cutting me off. Burt Reynolds,
Wait,
Adam
so you
Sandler,
said not
Chris
the
Rock.
original?
No, not the original. The 2005 Adam Sandler version. With Burt
What
Reynolds.
year?
2005. 05.
And you know Burt Reynolds was in both, right?
Burt Reynolds is in this one, along with
Wait,
Adam
was-
Sandler.
Was
Chris
Adam
Rock.
Sandler in the original one?
Adam Sandler was not,
Okay.
to the best of
All
my
right,
knowledge.
Luke. All right, well, let's not fucking with you.
I don't know if he played a child in the first one, but he was, from my memory, he was not in it.
All right, so give us the reason why, though, to you, Luke. I want to hear that reason real quick before we move on.
So my movie pick is going to be The Longest Yard. It's got an all-star cast with Burt Reynolds, Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, the great Khali from WWE, Bob Sapp, Warren Fisher, Terry Crews, Bill Goldberg, let's see, Kevin Nash, Tracy Morgans, Nelly, Joey Diaz, Michael Irvin, Stone Cold Steve Austin, stacked
What?
lineup. Yeah,
I'm
what?
just on IMDb right now.
Yeah, I am.
Just wrote the whole cast.
I'm literally looking. No, there's a. Hey, if you be
This
proud
guy
of
who
me,
also played in this and this.
Adam Schefter's in this movie too. But
Chris Berman's in the
lineup's
movie,
stacked. Yeah, it's stacked.
So is
Movie's
the wonderful
funny.
men and women of the county
It's
sheriff's
about-
office.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it, it's about a pro football player goes to jail, plays on the jail football team against the guards, and they fucking smack the guards. So
Thanks for giving the spoiler. I'm glad that you told us the ending for that. I haven't seen it
Yeah.
yet, so.
Oh, all right. Well, if you haven't seen it by this point, it was from 2005, so you kind of missed out.
Chris, keep it rolling, dude. What's your movie?
I mean, I got two, like Doc said. My first one that I wanted to say was Draft Day. I mean, just trying to see kind of like the behind the scenes of draft. I mean, I watch it every year when the draft's about to start. Every morning, that's my little draft ritual, is to watch Draft Day. But my real one, my mama said that Bobby Boucher and the Waterboy is the
Two Adam
best
Sandler movies.
Oh, hell
sports
yeah.
movie ever.
Adam Sandler don't miss. Happy Gilmore is close second for me.
Hey, what year was that, Chris?
Oh fuck, that was 1998.
Damn, dude.
Classic.
So yeah, but another wrestler, by the way, was in that The Big Show. Since we were naming WWE guys, so.
Yeah. Should
That's
I read
insane,
the cast?
Yeah,
No,
get
yeah.
IMDb up. Get IMDb up.
Come on, pull him up. Pull him up.
No, but definitely that's one of that's one of Adam Sandler's earlier movies. Definitely a classic comedy movie. You can't go wrong with The Waterboy. Even like Luke said, Happy Gilmore is definitely up there too. And like you and Doc, I mean, there's so many good movies that to choose from. If you're asking me the best sports movie, yeah, I'm gonna probably go Remember the Titans. Definitely love it. Just I love the background to it. The acting was great. To be honest, one of the first times I watched it, I had goosebumps from it. Just the acting from Denzel Washington. I mean, man's amazing, and I literally felt like I was actually there, like in the movie. I'm saying it's just watching Denzel movies go, but since that's the given, I'm gonna go The Sandlot. It's one of my favorite movies growing up. I mean, love baseball. At that time I was watching, I was playing the game, and kind of they tease it with Babe Ruth, the great Bambino. Pretty much lost the ball, and they had to go get it from the dog that ate it up. And yeah, I mean, it was just a classic. Just kids playing baseball in the summertime out there in the field. Like during the summertime, and nothing wrong with the Sandlot. And honestly, Doc, us being baseball fanatics, I think baseball actually has some pretty good movies. You have Moneyball.
Moneyball. If you're talking like thinking about the business side of it and everything, like Moneyball is such an underrated, fantastic movie, but there's just so few people that think about that way.
They should revise that franchise now too.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. And speaking of being underrated and fantastic, Doc, that's what we are. All About the Balls podcast. We definitely are underrated and fantastic. Chris, we are going to miss you on Monday, dude. So just shoot me that list for the tight ends, because that's going to be the topic, is game 2 of the finals and our top 10 tight ends. So probably a lot quicker, because there's not much to say about the analysis of tight ends, it seems like, in the league after Travis Kelce. Luke, Great to have you in the Sack House, my friend.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey.
Mark, real
Yeah,
quick.
look like you wanted an answer from that, but okay.
Mark, real quick. What year did the Sandlot come out?
I'm going to guess 1995.
You didn't do your research.
96.
Didn't do your research.
You didn't do your research.
Hey,
Hey,
I don't
couple
even-
other. Hey, throw out a couple other good movies for you guys to watch. Rudy, We Are Marshall, The Blind Side, a couple
Rudy's
good football movies.
Rudy is fucking underrated as can be. I think it's
Rudy.
the dumbest movie I've ever seen. It's
1993.
horrible acting, too. But Luke, like I said, great to have you there. Doc, loving having you in here.
Forrest Gump.
Always a pleasure to be here.
God, dude. Chris,
He,
we are
Forrest
going to
Gump,
miss you.
he played for Alabama.
Sign us out. Sign us out.
Mute this
Well, bad guys.
motherfucker. You got to start getting mute buttons on your side.
Chris,
Yeah,
like I said, we are going to miss you. But like I said, this is All At The Balls podcast. That is Luke Rule. That is Chris Meinhardt. That is the one and only Doc Skirkwins. I am your host, Mark Davis, live from the Sack House, and we are out. Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the Sack House.